All right. Good afternoon. It is Monday, February 12th, 2018. Joined here today, this is going to be an incredible breakdown. We have Carson Goodale here, who's co-founder of FanFood, as well as Kim Jung, who's the co-founder of Rumi Spice. Started off with a little truth, was it two truths and a lie? One of these people is the largest employer of women in Afghanistan. One of these people just raised $100,000 in a month and a half on a crowdfunding platform, and then one of these people is equally as impressive as the other two. So I'll give you the answer right after this today on the breakdown.
That was a good one.
All right, so we are joined here once again by Kim Jung here, who's the co-founder of Rumi Spice. Kim, what is Rumi Spice for those who don't know?
We're a group of military vets who source saffron, which is the world's most expensive spice, directly from Afghan farmers. And Will kind of mentioned it, but we are the largest private employer of Afghan women. This past year, we hired 2,000 Afghan women, which is 4 times what we did the year before. We work with over 300 farmers, so we're in some saffron happens to grow really well in Afghanistan because it's hot and it's dry. And we're in some of the best restaurants in the world, including the French Laundry, and the Bernardin, the Culinary Institute of America. And that's because it's Afghan saffron. We're rebranding Afghanistan. It's not just a place of the Taliban, of war, of opium and terrorism. It's a place where you can find the best saffron in the world.
Rebranding Afghanistan. What do you do, Carson? No. But yeah, and it's an incredible mission, and so Kim's also, for those who don't know, Kim's on the board here at Bunker Labs. She's incredible, very hard worker, makes us all look bad. So thank you so much for being here. Carson, FanFood, what does FanFood do?
FanFood is a mobile ordering app that delivers concessions to your seat at live events.
Very cool. And Carson, you're still active, right? You're in the Army.
Yes, I'm in the Army Reserves. I'm a detachment commander.
Okay. So 2 Army vets, or you know what I mean?
Whatever.
So Kim, your story. So how did you decide one day to wake up and say, I'm going to rebrand Afghanistan? Where did this come from?
Like most stories, there's no actual beautiful original story. And I will actually tell you, I don't think I've really told the story to most people, but I was in business school and I had applied to consulting jobs. And I was really wanting to go to Bain in San Francisco, and I didn't get it. So I was like, dang it, I didn't get it. And I don't want to go to another consulting firm. So I was Skyping with my co-founder Keith, and he told me about this farmer named Haji Yosef who was trying to sell saffron to USAID and other aid organizations, but wasn't succeeding because they're not actually doing any selling activities and marketing. So I was in business school thinking about all these things, in theory. And I thought, hey, let's start a business to connect these farmers to market. Why not? I got nothing to lose. Mm-hmm. And so it was the summer before my second year, and I bought a ticket to Afghanistan, took my entrepreneurship professor with me, met up with Keith and Haji Yosef and 11 other farmers, wore my hijab. I wasn't wearing any body armor. I didn't have a weapon or anything like that. And it was so different because I went there as a businesswoman rather than an army officer. And it was fantastic. We brought home saffron and started selling it. So my originally is because I didn't get what I wanted. I was going to be a consultant, and then I didn't get it. So I was like, I'll start a business.
That's it? Took the easy way out.
Yeah.
Man, that's incredible. So now here you are, 2,000 employees. I read that you did $1 million in revenue last year.
Yep, we did $1 million revenue, and we broke even.
There we go. That's incredible. Can we get a little lively from the gallery?
Yeah.
There we go. All right, sorry. It's so quiet in here.
That's amazing.
That's unbelievable. So this is something that you and I have talked about in the past is kind of the stages of growth. So you have been kind of on this incredible trajectory since I first met you a couple of years ago. You did the Y Combinator Fellowship. You've been on Shark Tank. You've kind of been doing it all. What does that look like? So the pretty on paper version was we raised some money. Here we are. But what does the reality look like when you're bringing on employees? I don't want to throw anybody under the bus here. But what are the stages of growth that you've seen over the last 2 years?
So it's interesting that you mentioned incubators and accelerators because we're sitting on right now, and my personal opinion is that, if you haven't been into business school and you don't know the basics of accounting and finance and marketing, I think Bunker Labs is a great place to do that. The online launch lab is a great place to learn about that without having to pay money. So there's some other accelerators out there who will make you give up equity or have you pay into something to be part of that. You shouldn't have to do that. So in the beginning, everyone says this, right? It's all about grit and about figuring something out, and you'd never actually. There's no method, or no, there's a method, but there's no one's going to tell you exactly what to do. So in the beginning,
brick road.
Yeah. It's not like you skip around and oh yeah, it's from A to B, and it's very clear how we go from one stage to the next. I would say, as I'm talking about the stages, it'll be for a small CPG food spice company. So if you're wanting to start one, great. So basically, in the beginning, I would say it's you have a minimally viable product and you put it out into the market. So for me, I used Avery Label. I designed stuff myself. I used 99 designs for my logo, which was 3 logos ago, and that cost $300. Yeah, I wouldn't do that now, but back then I would. That was fine. And then I went to these local grocery stores, and I was like, hey, this is my story. I want to sell saffron, and I spent all of my afternoons sitting there selling our product to customers. And then what would happen is I'd iterate the product. I'm okay, well, maybe this is too expensive, and this is too much saffron. I need to change the size and the packaging dimensions. So that's the beginning part. I feel like I'm getting really long-winded, but it just continues to grow. And the way that you should think about outsourcing and hiring is you do it yourself until you can't do it anymore, or you know that you shouldn't be, and you hire that out. And the way that you hire it out is because you've done it yourself, and so what are the metrics that you look for in an outside company. The only thing I would say that not to do that would be is for accounting. So hire somebody to do accounting, right off the bat.
Mm-hmm. But I think it's really important it was not about having this flashy, beautiful website in the beginning. You literally went to Afghanistan, you met with these farmers, and then you brought it back to America and you started selling. That was first and foremost. That has to be option one. Yeah,
and it was an ugly product. It was badly priced and whatever. Especially, so that's, I think, for more of a CPG. Mm-hmm. That's what you want to start off with. When you're talking about enterprise software, maybe that is going to take a lot larger funding and having the right team in place before you put out a product. Mm-hmm. But CPG, when you're starting with the product, just go sell some stuff, make a first product, and then iterate from there.
Right. I had a friend who I hope is watching right now, talking to somebody the other day about this, and I was having an argument with them saying you just need to make it and go and find some people to buy it and then worry about the other stuff later. Just be compliant, but sell later. Or do the logo stuff later. So Carson, FanFood, so you've been on the show before, so some people might remember that you came through the bunker a couple of years ago, maybe a year, almost 2 years ago.
Last March.
There you go. Okay, last March. All right, so last March, and you now do an event every single day.
Almost
every
Getting
day.
There.
It's crazy. Even on Wednesdays.
Let's see today. Not right now, but as the season's starting, all of our seasons are starting to ramp up in March. Major League Soccer, baseball's getting ready to start up, and everything like that. So it's going to be surprised. There'll definitely be events on Wednesday.
Yeah, and talk to me about this equity crowdfunding thing you're doing right now. So.
Yeah, so we leveraged the equity crowdfunding platform because I think it's, in my opinion, it's the future for investing, for different people to get involved. I think the way that laws have changed over the last couple of years now allows non-accredited investors to become involved with startups, which I think is a big win for people like me who are trying to raise money, who have this really cool idea but don't know how to get funding. Well, now I can tell my story, I can tell my dream, I can tell all the necessary information, put it on this platform, and if other people buy into the vision, then I can, they can help pursue our dreams. So it's been great. And timing is perfect too, because we've done the traditional way of raising money. We started with family and friends. We did some angel investing, and then we looked to leverage this equity crowdfunding platform as a sort of bridge to get us to our VC round, for which now we're also going through due diligence.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
So a lot of work went into it. So it ends tonight.
Ends tonight.
So very convenient that you're on the show right now. Because I make one last final plug.
Micro Ventures. That is Micro Ventures /FanFood app. 10 hours remaining. So,
what's that again? Micro Ventures
Will
FanFood app.
FanFood
In case you didn't catch it the first time.
Yeah.
It'll be in the comments.
And if you
Yeah,
want
it'll
to
be in the Thank you.
Don't you can Venmo me anytime.
Yeah.
And where are you at right now? So,
What's our status?
yeah.
I think we 110,000. I think, but our goal is to raise 50, and we've exceeded our expectations. So we couldn't have been more pleased with the efforts.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
I don't really have anything cool to tell you guys about my life right now. Some of you guys are,
Well.
no, that's cool. It's all good. What's next then? So you raise this. Obviously, but you want to raise venture capital.
Yep.
You want to raise VC.
Yep.
What about the company? What's your big goal for 2018? More
For
stadiums?
2018, we kind of set a goal for FanFood to do $1 million in sales.
Mm-hmm.
So implied is onboarding more stadiums, onboard more stadiums and increase stadium traction. And there's a couple different ways we're doing to accomplish both. So we're right on target with both of those. So adding some key members to our team.
Yeah.
But
About your team. Obviously, you're an early stage startup right now. Your team is probably, I don't know how many people on your team, like 8?
four.
And then you have like advisors and stuff as well.
Advisors,
right?
and team overseas.
So how do you, when you're starting out with an idea and you're getting out of college, how do you start a company knowing that it's not going to be making money and basically paying a salary? How do you go and dedicate full time? How do you find these people? Where did you? If that makes sense.
Yeah, you really have to find people early on who believe in your vision and are passionate that you are. And I was fortunate, that two of my best friends were also believers in what I was doing. One of them was pursuing pretty much the same concept and as a college project at the same time I was. There's no coincidence, and I asked my other friend to be a partner, so we did that. And when I got off active duty, I stayed in. I lived with my dad, for 6 months, to start to get the business off the ground and running and save the money that I earned while I was on active duty before taking the leap of faith to join you guys up here in Chicago. So
yeah, it's been an amazing ride.
Yeah.
It's been crazy.
Yeah.
So happy to see this is going well. I'm excited to see what the final numbers are
yeah,
tomorrow.
appreciate it. Yeah, so am I. Be interesting.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I don't know. You have any questions? Just off the top of your head, any gut reactions to this? Is intended to be so for people, early stage veterans who are starting their businesses.
Yeah.
What kinds of advice would you give looking back? What did you learn over the last 2 years, 3 years?
I remember being in those shoes where I was had honestly really no idea what it meant to start a business, and I didn't know what it am I an entrepreneur? Would I brand myself that way? So I think people underestimate how much work it is. And so let's say you see me here, right? We made $1 million in revenue. Carson's going to make $1 million this year. You don't know how much it took to get there. It was a lot. It's been 4 years, and everything from running out of money and not being able to pay people to fighting fires, and you think that we've made it or something, and we haven't. We are so small in the world of food that nobody would even look at us probably for an acquisition, right? People start looking for acquisition at $10 to $15 million in revenue, sort of companies, and those are tiny companies. A mid-sized company is $100 million in revenue. 1 million is great. It's a milestone. It means that you've made it somewhere. But I can tell you from experience, getting to $1 million was really hard. And we did it with between 3 to 5 people full time, along the way, and things have changed out, and friendships have changed, and the ways that we've done contracts with with our farmers in Afghanistan or our service providers in Afghanistan have changed. Food safety has become a big thing. Recalls, product recalls, all that, you don't know until you know it, and you just go through it. So my one thing is that, getting to $1 million sounds like, oh yeah, we've made it. Well, we have so much more to do, and it was a hard road to get here.
But don't give up,
Yeah.
It's like,
No, it was worth it. It was worth it.
Don't be discouraged. It's the most rewarding thing. So I think I think the nature of this audience is transitioning veterans. You guys have an idea and you're looking to pursue it. You don't know how or if this is the good time to do it. But my biggest thing is, as a veteran who's recently exited military, it's probably the best time, because I'm assuming you probably have a little bit of money saved up, right? So every entrepreneur, if that's what they want to call themselves, all kind of share a lot of similarities. Yep. One being sacrifice, and something that veterans are probably accustomed to is sacrifice. And so you will not, unfortunately pay yourself for probably a little bit, but give it a shot now. There's this really cool tool that we're going to discuss in a little bit, but here's a little free one. It's called Google, and you can literally ask it anything you want about how to run a business, and it will start to provide and give you a lot of amazing insight that
just giving away your trade secrets.
Yeah, really, it's actually it's unbelievable. And I'll never break that. And that will really just get you on your way. And start the biggest thing is if not now, when would you pursue this idea? And I say the most rewarding thing is pursuing your ideas and turning them into something. And maybe one day you can actually call it a business, or one day you can call it, But for now, it's just an idea. It's just a project. So take your idea, take your project, give it a shot, because why the hell not? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and to kind of piggyback off of that, I would get kind of mad because when I was in school and it was still a project, people were like, oh, that's so nice. You have this import-export business in Afghanistan. What a nice project. And
sounds like drug dealing. You say it like that.
Yeah, I know. And technically it was a project back then. But my advisor, who was a chef and who started his own business, one time I came in and he was asking me how things were, and this was in my second year. And I was like, oh yeah, I had this interview and with some other company. He's like, wait, what? And he kind of sat back and he his whole posture changed. And he's like, so this is just a hobby business. And he was absolutely right, because it hit me I can't be committed to Afghanistan and these farmers and this mission and try to do this business while having a main job on the side. Can't do that. So he basically told me, you get on the highway and you burn off all the off ramps, and then you just have to go because there's a fire in your ass, and that's the only way you're going to do this. So yeah, you can have some money saved up, but because I had some saved up, we put it all into the business. But I also knew that I had to fundraise and I had to continue doing this business because this business had to survive. Otherwise, I wouldn't have an income. So I did the fundraising right out of business school, and my life depended on it. And so the business also depended on it succeeding also. And so that's how we made it. And I would argue that you either all in or you're all out, but don't half-ass it. And the second thing about fundraising is, it's not hey, I have this business and it's a kind of a good idea. I think I would really like to have you come on. It's more no, this is my business, and this is great, and this is where it's going. And if you're on, great. If not, I'm not going to waste my time. I'm going to go somewhere else. So it's a little bit of posturing too, because at this stage, in the very early stage, there's a lot of unknown. So angel investors are investing in you as a person, and your first impressions and the way that you talk and act and speak and talk about your business and that you sound like you know what you're doing is far more important than actually knowing what's going on. I know that sounds bad, but there's just when you try to make pro formas off of basically nothing, for a new business, you do as much as you can. And I think that preparation is actually very important. But the other half of it is literally just posturing.
Sorry. Yes.
Good posture.
Accurate. So how often do you go back to Afghanistan? You still go, right?
Yeah, so we go once a year. And I know people wonder how we manage this in Afghanistan, and this is an Afghan-led business in Afghanistan, because we don't want the white men coming over to Afghanistan fixing everything. That's not how Rumi Spice works. The people who can run it the best are Afghans who live and work in Herat, who are farmers themselves, who know the lay of the land, who have the wasita, which is basically your goodwill, your way that you do business. It's the honor in society, your wasita. So Rumi Spice has good wasita because the people we work with have good wasita, and we've been able to bring value to our farmers and also to the Afghan women that we hire. And also, if just in case people are wondering, the saffron harvest takes place once a year, end of October, early November. So we go back every year for the harvest, and and it used to be where we go back and we spend a little more time like trying to make sure things were done right. And we realized they actually kind of know a little bit more. We have to tell them what we need. What we need is like good, clean saffron. What does that mean to be clean? Oh, we need to get towards BRC certification, and looking up for Food Safety Modernization Act concerns. So we poured a lot of money into getting the right facilities, the right equipment, having people like clock in, clock out, wearing uniforms, washing their hands, wearing gloves, masks, hairnets. And they wouldn't know that unless we told them this is what the market wants and needs. Yeah. This is why we're paying more money for companies or for people who can deliver us this. Mm-hmm. Here's our deliverables. You can get it done. Then you get paid for it. Again, this is business. This is not this is goodwill, and this is for social impact. But again, these farmers are not recipients of charity. These are business partners. So when we can deliver, which is what we deliver in payment, mm-hmm. then they will deliver the product. But we don't just do product. It's we have our own facilities. We buy the flowers. Anyway.
It's a lot. It's amazing. I mean, it's
sorry,
incredible.
I'm talking too much.
No, it's like, but I think the spirit of this is all when to do it with this idea, and now look at what we've learned over the last few years. It's all of these compliance issues. How do we improve the product? How do we improve the systems? How do we hire more people? How do we let them do it themselves? It's a lot, and you learn through doing.
Yeah, and from a business perspective, it's we're maybe too vertically integrated. And so we hire out that portion to people who can do it best. Mm-hmm. So then it becomes a service contract.
Yeah. It's incredible. Well, for the sake of time, we do this thing every week, Hacks, where we go around and we just say something cool we use or listen to or read that can be directly applicable to an early stage entrepreneur. So I was wondering, what, Kim or Carson, and I'll do mine too, what is something you use that's free, cheap, cool, educational? I don't know. I mean, besides Google.
Besides Google, you want to go?
Free. I've just been I'm thinking about some blogs I've been reading, but actually it's nothing to do with entrepreneurship. There's a great blog called Slate Star Codex, and it just thinks about political and social and tech, these issues that we have revolving around those issues moving into the future. Mm-hmm. Let me think more about
Slate stuff. But actually, it is good. It's good to be able to look into the future. So maybe your next business will be. You gotta get this kid healthy, by the way.
Eat saffron.
Yeah. Saffron's good for your.
Oh, saffron's very good for your health. Loaded in antioxidants, anti-inflammatory. If you think turmeric is good, turmeric is poor man's saffron.
It's also the most expensive.
Yeah, but you only need a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
So still startup-ish mode. So,
what's your hack?
Besides, can I say?
One you're doing.
Besides my throat, can I say crowdfunding? Can I say the crowdfunding platform? I think for people exploring startup ideas who maybe have a little bit of traction. Another thing when you're pursuing an idea, it's probably important to get some traction. Mm-hmm. Will people buy what you're selling? Is it significant? What are your KPIs? Google it.
What does KPI stand for?
Key Performance Indicator. And it's different for every different kind of business, but it helps you track traction. And so you get a little bit of that, and I think once you're able to put some of that online on these crowdfunding platforms, you get a lot of people to back you and support your dream and your vision. I know there was another one online right now, and it was an 18-year-old kid who's creating robotic prosthetics, and he's at 320% on his goal. It's also on MicroVentures. Yeah. And I think it's just really incredible story of he got supported, Microsoft did, I think, this partnership with him, and he was able to, put
just
one of his
platform, I think.
Well, yeah, and for him, he's already raised, in the first 7 days, he's raised $300,000, and this kid now is going to have enough money to pursue his dream. So, if you have a good story and you have a little bit of traction, you can make a lot of cool stuff happen. So, awesome. Maybe, check it out.
Cool. Microventures. My hack is a tool called Sketchup. And it's a 3D prototyping tool. It's like PowerPoint, but you can like create shapes and objects and like manipulate them 3D and stuff. It's like a really good beginner's way to go and create prototypes for physical products. If that's like something you ever want to get into. So
that's cool.
Thought?
Oh, I just have thoughts on like thinking about like.
So like I'm trying to learn kind of like how to do some of that stuff, and that was like my first good intro to some of that 3D mapping and stuff was through.
What product are you gonna build with it?
Can't talk about it right now, but keep your eyes open for something that might look like it's in the construction industry.
Oh, okay.
But it's not. So
I have one more hack.
Yeah.
For people doing like product, I would say so. Like for low quantities, like 500 units or something, I would use Freund container.
Boring container.
Yeah, Freund
container.
Yeah, and also for printing out labels, I wouldn't use Avery because it was really expensive.
Okay.
So there's U printing, like UPRINTING, which I think was super cheap and very great. Mm-hmm. And the other one is onlinelabels.com. This is from just me going to searching through like Alibaba and like going through all the label companies, and so
nice.
Those are good ones to start off with.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Thank you very much. Cool. So that's today's breakdown. Next week's going to be a great show. Again, we'll have Eli Crane on here. He's the founder of Bottle Breacher, another Shark Tank alum, former Navy SEAL, as well as our good friend Scott Hardesty from Ranger Nutrition. He will be the co-host. I know, right? So tune in next week. Looking forward to seeing you. Have a good day.